Hello and welcome everyone. It's Susanne here from the Project Manager Clinic. Today I wanted to talk a little bit to you about how you started your project management journey and a little bit about how I started my project management journey. So it's interesting, a lot of people end up in project management almost by accident. It's because their organisation needs something done, there's some sort of problem, and they're the one that are picked. They might be a resource that can do the job. They might be already an experienced project manager or someone who has the skills that their bosses think can do project management. Or it could be absolutely by accident or by necessity. And then there are people that seem to just want to go into project management as a career. And I'm always fascinated by these people because that's not how I fell into project management. I fell into it almost by accident or by necessity. But I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Some years ago, I was mentoring some project management master's degree students at the Sydney University in Sydney. And it was a very interesting experience for me because these people went into project management as their chosen career. And I found that to be quite fascinating. But a couple of things that they said to me was that project management allowed them to get things done. And I thought that was really interesting because I'd previously talked to some engineers and they had said they went into engineering because they were able to solve problems. So engineers can solve problems and project managers can get things done. And to me, they're almost interchangeable in a way because project managers also solve problems and engineers also get things done. So it was very interesting to mentor these project manager master's students at the time, and it started me on a little journey of my own wondering why people go into project management. And for somebody like me who was, an early founder of the Project Management Institute in Australia, in Sydney and in Brisbane, way back, I always found that people got so excited about project management. Many people were so passionate about project management that it sort of surprised me. I often get passionate about project management when I'm talking about it, but I don't often think about it otherwise. So as I mentioned, I fell into project management as a necessity, really, because the organisation that I was working with, which was a government organisation at the time, had an issue with fraud on one of their large reconciliations. So remembering, I sort of came at this from finance. And it was really imperative that we find out what was going on and where this fraud was occurring and how to resolve it. So that was really my first part of project management. At the same time, and remembering this was quite a long time ago, in the early 90s really, when technology was fairly new, we were doing these very large reconciliations, bank reconciliations actually, almost manually. We had printouts and we used to have these things called tapes, reels, that the bank would send us, which would have to be run by our IT department. And then we'd have these great big printouts, which were, 15, 20 centimetres high, each one of them. So it was a lot of manual work. So I became the first pilot site and first, project manager for software from one of the banks that would do this transaction matching and reconciliation automatically via a program. So that was very far-reaching at the time, and it was very enjoyable actually to do. And amazing really at the time how much time it saved for my team. I had 9 people who would every month go through these printouts and these transactions and use a Lotus spreadsheet. This is even before Excel spreadsheets, to manually pretty much do the reconciliation. And we were at the time working on green screens and blue screens, if you know anything about technology. That was pretty early days, right? So this was a big deal. After that, I had gone off to university to do my applied science computing course, as it was then. It's Bachelor of Business Technology or whatever, information systems now. But at the time, it was pretty early, so it was applied science with the mathematicians. So it was pretty interesting. And I went on to do a few other projects like that, where there was an issue or there was fraud involved or it was very complex. But I moved into contract management, so I didn't go into project management like a lot of people do: project administrator, project coordinator, project manager, senior project manager, etc. I had sort of started more at a senior level because I'd already been in finance as a manager. Then I was in contract management. So by the time I went into my first IT project proper, I was negotiating the contract terms on behalf of my employer, and managing a very large budget at the time, and sort of learning the ropes, I guess, on project management. But prior to all of that and going into finance, I had done an architectural drafting a course, certificate course. So I was already used to, I guess, project management concepts. So it wasn't so difficult for me. Way back when we first started looking at project management more seriously in Australia, it was, I wouldn't say little known, but it was not so valued, and it wasn't so visible that there were people that actually did this. We've moved a long way from that to the point where we have project manager masters, like I said, and people that specialise in project management. But it's still largely misunderstood, I think, by a lot of recruiters and potentially recruiting managers. That's certainly what we are still seeing. I hope it's not as undervalued as it was, and we've managed to win that battle. If you're watching, please give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the channel, and subscribe. And I'd really love to hear a little bit about your journey to project management in the comments, if you would share that with us, because I'm always fascinated, like I said, why people join project management as a career. I have other people I know, colleagues, who have mostly had similar experience to me. I'm not sure whether that's our vintage or what it is, but have largely had a career in something else, but then have had to take on the project management mantle and then continued with project management. I think one of the things about project management is it's a little bit hard to get out of, particularly if you've been doing it for a little while, and if you're doing it well and successfully. And that's what I found. Even though I had my own company and I was a CEO, I kept being asked to go back and remediate projects that were failing, and a lot of them failing very badly. But they weren't projects that I had started. They were projects that I needed to resolve. I think one of the things about project management is we always have our framework and our tool set to fall back on, and I think that's a really solid thing for anybody that's wanting to consider project management as a career. It can be a little bit lonely, though, I've found, as the project manager, because remembering you're managing a team very often. Some people work alone, but otherwise you're often managing a team. You're often managing contractors or suppliers and vendors. So you can't be their friend. You have to be able to influence. You have to be able to manage your team. Even as a program director at that level and working as an executive, as I have done, working with other executives in the organisation, you're still a little bit on the outside because you're not part of that group necessarily, unless you've got a permanent job and you're heading up, say, the program management office or something like that. You're still lonely because you've got, or working alone in a way, because you've got your sponsor, you've got your stakeholders, but you don't necessarily have your peers in some organisations. Some organisations where there's a number of project managers, yes, you will find your peers in that organisation. But for many of us, many of us as project managers, we're contractors, so we're not full-time employees, and that in itself can be a thing. So if you're experiencing that, and as we all do out there in project land when we're busily trying to get something resolved, and you're feeling a little bit lonely, then let us know here at the Project Management Clinic, because we can help. We've got coaching programs that we can specifically help you with in order to jump over those problems that seem sometimes insurmountable. So that's a little bit about me and how I started in project management. I'd love to know, like I said, how you might have started in project management or why you're considering project management as a career. So let me know in the comments. I'd love you to follow us and subscribe, and have a great project day.